Today, we're going to talk about how to choose the best light therapy tool for you. And we know there's a massive number of tools on the market. These happen to be the ones we primarily work with, but that doesn't mean that they're the only ones that we work with or the only ones that our students use. But there's too many choices. This is just a very, very fast grab of the different devices that I see coming across questions to me every week. We have full laser systems, what really started all of this with Thor lasers. We have panels, we have vaginal wands. Here we have small pads, we have big laser pad devices, we have pads and torches and wraps and handheld devices, panels, even a bed. How do you decide what to use for you? And it really comes down to about 5 things. First, what is it you're trying to accomplish? You just have a bad knee and you want to light up your knee? Well, that's a very different thing than if you're an athlete trying to get up and get going every day and you want to have more energy and you're lighting your whole body, but you're basically healthy. And again, a very different thing from whether you're addressing a stroke or brain damage, or you want to use light professionally and you need something that's very durable that you can calculate exact dosage with. What you're trying to accomplish changes what it is you're going to use. Then we look at what materials things are made out of. You get what you pay for. Cheap materials don't last as long. Mobility versus stability. And we'll talk about that when we get there. But do you need to carry it around or do you need it to sit still and you go to it like a bed? Customer service. Does the company you're purchasing from have customer service in the country where you're located? Not everyone does. And output specifications. And this is really a big one. It's the most disingenuously offered by the manufacturers. Very few professionals even understand what they are or how to use them. All right. So all of these are things we're going to take into account today. When I'm looking at the type of tool to buy, my first question on what I'm trying to accomplish is, are we looking for nutrition? Because light is a nutrient. We just need more light to have more energy and restock our cells. Right. Or do we need therapy? Do we need to repair or rebalance some system or muscle or portion of the body? And the different types of tools are used for different approaches. If you just need general energy and circulation, you're a relatively healthy person, you're an athlete, then what we call ambient light, panels, lamps, beds, even big pads, they're probably fine. You don't need to target anything. You don't really need to know how much you're giving. You're just going to stand in front of it like as if you were going out in front of the sun. But the sun is giving you negative side effects with harmful radiation, whereas these devices have been curated, as it were, to only provide the wavelengths that are most beneficial for your body. They're not great fast therapy for addressing a stroke, a torn ligament, but they are great nutrition. And even those clinicians out there that offer photopuncture and pads or massage may also put a panel in because it's a great way for somebody to get a fast 5 to 10 minutes of a reset to restore the energy of your body. Lee, you used panels in your clinic, right?
Yes, I do. Every tool has its place, and the panels worked great for particularly for men or reticent dogs. If you put it on a floor and the dog, you can put it right next to a dog. It's not targeted, but it will help with the nutrient of light for them.
Animals are pretty smart. They'll go over and lay down in front of it. And when they know they're full, they're done, they get up and leave. They're a little smarter than we are that way. So If that's really your goal, great. Get a non-targeted tool that fits your budget and your time budget. Might be a small panel, might be a full wall of panels, might be a bed that you can lay in. If you have a spa or an exercise facility, a bed may be a great thing, but you're going to have somebody there helping people with it because you don't want them overdoing it. And I can tell you the beds are not necessarily easy to get in or out of if you're short, heavy set, or older. And I was all three of those when I tried to get in and out of one of the beds, and it was a very unique situation, we'll say. Now, if you are looking to do wound healing or emergency first aid or address systemic issues where you need to tell the brain, hey, the problem's over here, we need to address it, well, then you want more targeted tools, whether that's a torch or a handheld device or even smaller pads or a lot of pads where you can direct exactly where those pads go so you can open up the body in the right order. It may take longer to learn to use them, not much, it's not difficult, or it may take longer to address the issue. You may be spending 20 to 60 minutes with someone as opposed to 6 minutes in front of a panel, but you're going to move a lot faster in addressing chronic health issues or wounds or serious acute pain. So it depends again on what you're trying to do. If you're dealing with chronic health conditions, diabetes, neuropathy, any kind of systemic issues like thyroid disease or autoimmune issues, these are going to take a little bit longer. And a lot of times you want to combine both targeted tools like photopuncture torches or class 3B lasers. We're not going to talk about class 4 much on here because they require a license. And they're really not very good for activating acupuncture points because you can overwhelm the point. But when you use that sort of fast systemic trigger of activating acupuncture points, you can tell the body and remind the brain, hey, we have a problem over here. This is out of balance. We need to bring it into balance. That helps stimulate things very quickly. And then you can add pads or panels for tissue regeneration to support the change that you've triggered. And then even emotional relief, if you're wanting to deal with depression, PTSD, ADHD, targeted tools are, again, usually the best approach because we can use that Chinese medicine approach to tell the body where the imbalance is and help bring it back into balance. We can help flush the organs that are associated with different emotions. Liver, usually a lot of anger and depression tied to liver imbalances or liver congestion. Fear, kidneys, lungs, anxiety, and grief. So we can use a Chinese medicine approach for emotional imbalances by using very targeted light. All of those things are going to help with letting you rebalance the body. Glenn asked a great question, is ADHD emotion-based? No, it is nervous system based. One of the beautiful things about targeted light is we can shift the body into rest and digest or a parasympathetic state. ADHD, and ADHD has a lot of brain imbalances to it. It has a lot of neurotransmitter imbalances to it. Sorry, when I first read that, I was thinking PTSD, but ADHD, it's emotional in that if you have ADHD and you're a young person and everybody's telling you you're bad or wrong or don't fit into a specific educational mold, there's a big emotional component to it. And we've found that if we can get the body back into balance, activating health and balance points, activating the shift into parasympathetic, we can decrease ADHD symptoms very quickly and reduce their effect on the person. All right. It's brain chemistry. It's all sorts of things. But remember, all of those create a judgment from those around you, which creates an emotional response in the body. All right. And yes, there's a lot you can do with very targeted light to address that. All right. And I'm not ignoring you, those of you with hands up. I'm just trying to get this particular recording done, and then we'll open everything up. Now let's go into materials and design. You know, you have to figure two different budgets. You have to figure what you can afford financially, and you can have to figure out what you can afford time-wise. If it takes you 2 hours every day to handle all of the light therapy needs you need because you only have a very small device that doesn't emit very much light, then you've wasted your time budget, but it may have been all that you could afford with your financial budget. All of that comes in. There's no wrong answer. For example, these are two different styles of torches, or the one on the left is a standard photonic health light. I started using them 20 years ago. They're less light that comes out. They're very durable. We've used them for a long time. They're kind of a metal body. Their biggest weakness is that plastic bezel at the front that breaks, all right? But it's actually far more expensive than some of the ones on the right that use a tactical flashlight body, which will never break. The body of it will never break. So there's different things of different pieces that will appeal to different clients, all right? Plastic is less expensive, but less durable. If it's lightweight, it may not last. You want something you can run over with your car, and believe me, it's been done, or drop into the horse tank, or, you know, get mushed and crunched. Do things go bad? Usually electronics, yes. But in general, you want devices that are going to hold up. Also, you want to be very specific on wavelengths. Not all wavelengths are created equal. There may be 30 different devices like we saw here on the market for targeted red light. See our red one here on the left. Here's a red one here from Photonic Health. There are many others by other brand names. You can take all of them. They may all say that they offer 660 nanometer red light. 660 is the wavelength that is the most absorbed by the tissue. But you may not be getting anywhere near that. I've taken 10 different devices, pointed them up at the wall, and had a range of colors from a light orange all the way to a nice deep red. So not all of them are exact. Will the light orange still do some photobiomodulation and still trigger acupoints? Probably will, but it won't stimulate. It won't be as absorbed as well. It won't stimulate as much cellular regeneration. And again, you get what you pay for. The company making the device can save a lot of money if they buy LED diodes that can vary, 30 or 40 nanometers, either direction, up or down from the number. But if you are a company that's more dedicated to getting exactly 660 or as close as possible to it, that's going to cost you more. You're going to be buying LEDs from the A bucket rather than the C, D, or E bucket. That's how they grade them, A, B, C, D, E. Cheap diodes vary a lot, and they give out faster. They don't have 10 to 50,000 hours of life on them. And a little tiny jolt can blow out your diodes immediately. All right. Less expensive devices often use poor quality diodes. It's just a fact of life.
And also, you'll see different wavelengths of light referred to, particularly red, as we have 3 different shades of red. We have light red, dark red, and infrared. So all it means is that they're different wavelengths of light combined together.
And different wavelengths are absorbed by different cells. I noticed that a lot of the new tools that they claim will dissolve fat off your body are using a different red than what we typically use for healing the body. Do not ask me if they work, guys. I'm not a big believer in it because it still says with diet and nutrition. But, there's a lot of research going around the world, going on in labs all over the world, which specific wavelength is going to trigger which specific biological response. And in general, all the reds are going to trigger pretty much the same thing, all the yellows, all the blues. Not exactly, but pretty close. Just the biggest difference is going to be how much of it gets absorbed and how deeply it initially penetrates. So you don't want your light therapy device to cook your tissue. The goal is to be warming and providing extra energy to tissue, not putting it and cooking it under a broiler. Many of the inexpensive lamps are based on the initial grow lamps that were the light therapy, especially LED light therapy, is an offshoot from our space program and NASA. Their astronauts discovered that those who were working in the hydroponics rooms, growing the food on the labs or up in space, if they got a cut, if they got a bruise, if they got a cold, they got over it. They healed. Their cut healed, the bruise went away, their circulation was good, and they didn't get colds or viruses or sick very often. But the astronauts who never went into those rooms and never got that extra light, the reds and the near infrareds that were being used in the grow rooms, they would get a cut and it wouldn't heal. They would get a bruise and still have it weeks later when they made it back to home base. And this was a big aha moment where NASA started looking at, we need to start putting the red and near infrared wavelengths throughout the capsule so that our astronauts will heal. And this really triggered the revolution that we now see as red light therapy being sold everywhere. So yay, we don't want our tool to cook us. It's one of the reasons why if somebody is using a class 4 laser, they have to keep it moving regularly so it doesn't overheat the tissue. It has to wave back and forth instead of sitting directly over something because the tissue will overheat. It's why we don't want our lamps, we don't want to be under there and be getting too hot. It's one of the problems with panels. In order to get enough light to the body to trigger new cellular regeneration, the panels, because they lose so much light being 2, 4, 6, 12 inches away from you, they're putting out a tremendous amount of light, so they get very hot. So then they have to put heat sinks in and fans in, and you have to be careful not to be too close to them for too long. I prefer to use tools where that's not an issue. But if all you can afford is a $30 grow bulb, use it. Just learn to use it safely. And does what you purchase fit what it is you're trying to do? Does your pad have hot spots? We don't see this much anymore, but there for a while, you could buy light therapy pads or wraps, and one spot would be really hot, like the wiring would be off, or they were just really cheap technology. Is your light bed too short or too tall, too high off the ground for short people to get into, like we mentioned before? Does your system, like I love Enlight pads for working with humans in my clinic. I do not take them out to work on horses with them because I don't take $3,500 to $5,000 systems that have cords around horses, because it's too likely that horse, something can startle even the safest, most sweet horse in the world. That horse all of a sudden sets off, takes the cord with it, which takes my equipment with it, which breaks it, and I'm out. And believe me, insurance companies don't cover it if your horse breaks it when it's a human device. So stop and think about what you want your tool to do. How durable does it have to be? Where are you going to use it? What animals are you going to use it with? Should it have cords? Should it not have cords? All of those things, form and function, come into it. here is a torch. This is a style. This one says Tendlite, which was the first name, okay, in this style. And now you can find this same style torch available under 50 different brand names. All right. This manufacturer bugs me twice a month that they could just make me so much more money if I sold these torches instead of the ones we do. They're inexpensive to produce, but they have no heat sink in them. That button is on the side. If I put this in my purse and that button gets bumped, the torch comes on. And I bought one of these when they first came out to test them. And when light comes on and it stays on within 5 minutes, it's very, very hot. And you'll find this in a number of torches that are on the market. Even the instructions now on a couple of them say, do not use for more than 6 minutes at a time. Well, I'm sorry, if I'm working with horses or I'm working on people here, I may be working for 20, 30 minutes. I don't want it to get hot. I don't want it to burn my hands when it's too hot to hold, and they can get there. So, if you are trying out tools, check what the warranty is, make sure that they will, because this company said, well, I don't care if it gets hot. As long as that red light turns on, we're not replacing it under warranty. Heat is not an issue for us. So form and function. What do you need it to do? How safe does it need to be? Does it come with a carrying case? Does that case fit in your purse and your luggage? What is it that you're trying to do? Take a look at that when you're looking at different equipment.
It'll come on in your purse or your pocket. You don't know it until it starts getting hot, or maybe you don't notice it at all if it's at the bottom of the purse.
Yep.
And the battery's dead when you go to use it.
And lithium-ion batteries do not like going dead. They do not. When it's dead, they do not. Thank you. And same thing, mobility versus stability. One of the reasons I have 5 different kinds of tools available to me is some I'm going to use in the clinic. It's going to stay put. I only need to roll a client over to it. Some I need to put in my purse or in my truck and take with me. If I'm working at horses or a horse show, I need it to roll over to the barn. I need it to be in my purse or in my pocket, on my belt. What is it you need from your tools? If you're only using tools at home, in bed, great. It doesn't have to be as durable. It doesn't have to be as mobile. But think about what works best for what your goal is. Goes back to what are you trying to accomplish and where are you trying to accomplish it? Leah's got a perfect example of this. Up until this year, she's been a clinician in a clinic. Life changed. Now she is doing a concierge service where she goes to her clients. That greatly changes how you view your tools. You want to talk about that, Lee?
Yeah, it really does make a difference. When you're stationary in a clinic, we had massage beds. We had an amazing chair that went 6 different directions up and down, and we could use it for all different things. And but now that I'm mobile and a concierge, I have to be cognizant of what is going to work pretty much in any environment and be able to accommodate that client. So without going into another form of being a concierge, it's important if you're going to be doing light therapy on somebody else that you know well ahead of time what it is your client is looking for and wants to achieve, so that you can bring the proper tools and be covered that way.
Exactly. And it's not just what can you use on the client in their home, but do you have to haul that stuff up 50 steps to their front door?
Right.
Get it into an elevator going up into an apartment building.
And it really does require some thought and, putting it together. But we did work on people in their homes prior to opening up the clinic. So we already had a fairly good idea. We weren't quite as knowledgeable, in fact, not at all compared to what we are now. But we had an idea of what it took. And I can pretty much take any tool in one bag and one carry a small little container that contains another unit that I use for anti-aging, and I'm good to go. I can cover anything. My torches fit in the side. I've got all of my pads,
Right.
and
And
yeah,
that's another reason why I like pads over large, heavy equipment. And this other point is it easy to clean?
yes,
If you,
right,
especially, we all learned in the last few years that we need to sterilize or clean our equipment in between uh, clients, especially if they're sneezing, wheezing, coughing, or a problem. So, is it easy to maintain? Is it is it durable? Is it portable? This is a pad system like what I use. There are pad systems on the market. This is a class 4 laser system that costs $65,000. You're not hauling it around much with you. This looks smaller than it is. It's kind of heavy. But this is a rolling system with laser pads. Well, you're not taking that out of the office and going home with it at night. So think about what works best for you. All right, customer service. If you go to, and I'm going to call them distributors, PTI is not a manufacturer. We are a VAR, a value added reseller. We're very fussy about what products we resell. We think we add value to them because we add a lot of education and charts and recipes to use and all of that. So we're a value added reseller. Most of the distributors, most of the companies that you land on their website and going to buy a device, even Amazon is a reseller, right? Anybody on eBay is a reseller. eBay is not the manufacturer. Go to the website before you do anything else. See if you can call them. If their contact us page is just here, email us and we'll get back to you in a week, not a great idea. Can you reach out to them on social media? Can you reach out to them by phone? Is there somebody that answers that phone? Especially if you're going to be spending $500, $1,000, $5,000. There are devices out there that are over $125,000 just for anti-aging. Somebody better answer that phone and somebody better warranty it and they better be responsible for it. If you can't reach them, don't buy from them no matter what great things you've heard about the device. You may be able to find that same device from a different reseller who will answer the phone and who is knowledgeable. So be very careful with that.
I agree 100%.
We've all gotten taken. I mean,
Absolutely.
the resellers have gotten taken, right? We have a new product line coming out later this spring, and it's taken 6 months because we've been ordering products, testing products, sending them in for third-party testing of how much light's been coming out of them. What do we have to do if we have to return it or warranty it? All of those things take time. And that's what you want from the seller that you're working with. Even if you're purchasing from Amazon, what's the rating? Amazon now does a great thing that says this is an item that has to be returned often. So if you're looking at something, it looks really cool, and you scroll down the page and it says, yeah, we get a lot of these back. That's a clue. If the seller rating is 5 stars, but they've only ever had 5 buyers, that's a clue, right? You're not getting, what is the rating? Again, can you reach them through Amazon? Do they have a phone number and email? Is there a warranty, and is that warranty listed? Look around, ask. There's a lot of forums on Facebook and LinkedIn, etc. now that you can ask questions. Hey, did you have a good experience with Juve? Did you have a good experience with Photonic Health? Who did you like working with? Who's giving you good education? Right? So do your due diligence even on a $150 device. And now it comes down to my big bugaboo and what we've been dealing with a lot right now. Like I said, coming out with a new product line, output specifications. And this is the details that really, really matter. Does the seller tell you how much light is coming out of that device? And if they do, how long do you need to use it to deliver a specific amount of light? All right. More, and I just had this conversation on WhatsApp and Alibaba with a couple of distributors this week. I know they're listing their devices now with, this is a 55-watt device, or this is a 5-watt device, or this is a 15-watt device. It does not mean anything. A 55-watt device, and I think I took this from a panel, from one of the panel companies, just means that that device is using 55 watts per minute to power itself. That doesn't tell you anything about how much light is coming out of those diodes. We don't know how efficient their lights are. We don't know how much is being lost heat. We don't know how hot the device gets in the meantime. The wattage of the device means nothing. Okay? What we need to know is how much light. Properly, we want to know usually in milliwatts. So 1,000 milliwatts in a second is a joule, just so you know. So we want to know how many milliwatts do we get every second per centimeter squared. So per that little area of your body. It may be called a radiance. It may be called output density. It might even be called fluence, but you're looking for milliwatts per centimeter squared per second. We're now seeing more and more manufacturers or resellers list 120 milliwatts. And they might do 120 milliwatts per centimeter squared, but they'll leave off the second. And what we've discovered is sometimes that means that's per minute, and they just didn't want to tell you that. They want you comparing apples and oranges. So if your light outputs 100 milliwatts per second, then in 10 seconds, or per centimeter squared, in 10 seconds, you got 1 joule, right? Because 10 times 100 is 1,000. So for 30 joules, it would take 300 seconds, or 5 minutes. Does that make sense to everybody?
It will always be confusing to me, but yes, it makes sense. It's just the calculations.
So
But the key too is so many manufacturers try to hook you in with saying this is 3,000 watts of power, more than anything on the market today. And like you said, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, and it means it's so inefficient that they had to give it too much power to get enough light out of it.
Right?
Here's what we try to do. We've been putting this on a single page on our website. We are now adding this information for every single device on our website in the storefront. You'll be able to look and see per device what the output density is. And so if you have our Red Plus 2 torch, it's on the high setting. The total output for the torch is just about a joule per second, 1,002 milliwatts, all right? When we divide that by the 2 centimeters squared, that comes out to about 167 milliwatts per centimeter squared per second. This is when it's not telescoped. This is just standard, turn it on. This is what you get. So to deliver a joule, it's going to take 10 seconds. You want to do 5 joules, which a lot of research studies, especially with dental issues, they shoot for 5 joules. Right. Do 50 seconds. All right. Time to deliver 10 joules, 60 seconds. We rounded it. All right. 30 seconds, 60 seconds, etc. Sorry, you got 10 joules. This was in a minute. It was 10 joules. So this was how long did you need to do in seconds to deliver specific joules. So to get 5 joules is 30 seconds, right?
And Kay, this, I don't know, you can tell me if it's not a good time, but I would like to interject how important it is when you're working with someone that you are with light therapist that knows what they're doing, that has actually studied and become certified. You don't have to be certified to be a light therapist, but this is what Kay teaches in school. You can go as little or as big as you want to go, but it's important because as a consumer, even if you never want to be a light therapist, this has an impact long term on your investment that you're going to have for a long, long time to empower you to take care of your own health. And the knowledge is power in this case. It becomes secondary just in thought when you go to shine the light on your elbow. You've done it so many times. You already know, but you had the basic information to start with to help you to get the best results.
And in general, most research talks about a biphasic dose response. You need enough light to get the body to respond, but if you give it too much light, especially too much light too fast, you won't get any benefits, or you'll actually get negative benefits. So WALT, the World Association of Light Therapy, and most of the different national groups, they usually recommend 5 to and no more than 100 joules per centimeter squared in a specific session. And that will fully saturate the tissue. Now, we know that if we deliver light slowly enough that we don't heat up the tissue, we can deliver 100 joules with no negative side effects. In fact, I know people have gone over that. But in general, you want to get at least 5 to really trigger a response. And I usually shoot between 5 and 30 at a nice, long, low, slow rate to get the best benefits. Depends on the tissue. It depends on what you're doing. But 5 joules minimum is in a session is very common. So you want to make sure that there's enough light coming out of your device. And how long would it take you? If it's going to take you 15 minutes to get 5 joules, but you're in a hurry, that may not work. It may be that that's perfect. Depends on what you're trying to do. All right.